Yeah. So I was a teacher for 7.5 years, 8 years, depending on
Wow.
who you ask on the calendar. And I was that teacher who fought white supremacy in the classroom every single day.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's how I know a lot of the stuff that I've been like talking about on TikTok. And so it just so you see my evolution of it, I've always been an ESOL teacher for, so pretty much ESOL stands for English for Speakers of Other Languages. Um, 100% of my students were immigrants, whether they were undocumented, whether they were refugees, or green card holders themselves, depending on it. And therefore, I fought white supremacy every single day in the classroom because I made sure that the texts reflect my kids and were things that they were able to actually grasp. And that journey went from my first year, like trying to figure out what I was doing, to my second year, centering it around the marches that happened in LA back in the 60s, during the civil rights era, where there were immigrant children walking out of ESOL classrooms and special education classrooms in order to demand for their rights for a better education. And I showed that to my kids because they needed to see that, yes, you may be an immigrant and you may be new to this country, but you can fight for a better tomorrow. Like, you are the future of this country. So I
Wow.
started that way. And then it ended up to me including people such as Malala Yousafzai, who,
Oh yeah.
like, decentering, right? I didn't even know I was doing it at the time, but I was decolonizing education as well. Decentering the story and talking about Malala getting shot at, and then just discussing what that means for a child to be willing to be shot at to get an education, and discussing that. And while I was discussing that and centering those texts and those current events that were happening, my kids were still getting taught to the test. I mean, my kids were the highest scoring kids of the region. I was investigated for the first
Woo!
3 years.
Look at you go.
They would just score really high. Oh
That's
yeah,
amazing.
there's a lot of stuff that I just don't talk about on TikTok
But
because
that is incredible.
I try to
How
cover
did you do that?
You are a superhero.
How did you do it?
by not caring.
Yeah. I love
Wait a minute.
I'm serious.
Because the powers that be are always going to be the ones that say you have to teach to the test.
She taught through the test, but through the lens that she wanted.
Yeah. For example, like one of the exams, the biggest thing is main idea and like capturing the main idea and all this crap. So it's like, great, we're going to read about Malala Yousafzai being shot in the face for being a woman trying to go to school. We're going to read this paragraph and let's take out the main idea.
There you go. Oh my God. Oh my God. That is not an articulate reaction, but that is amazing.
Let's take it a step further. Go with me. How do you take that and apply it to teachers across the country that want to do that, who have to deal with curriculums, if I said that right, curriculums, that, is there a way to teach teachers to do that?
Can I, really quick, we need to diversify our hiring system too. That would
Yeah.
help. But
You have to learn how to finesse the system. It's literally like I wasn't able to start doing that until my second year, once I understood a little bit better.
Can you please say that again?
You need to learn how to finesse the system.
Can you speak a little bit louder? I didn't hear it.
I can't hear it. It's almost like a little low.
Is this better?
No, louder.
You need to learn how to
Gen
finesse
Z, louder. Louder.
So you really do, and that's something that comes with time. This is like, many people don't understand that education is an art form as well. Like, you need to learn how to form relationships with children. You need to care about kids. Kids will not care about what you're teaching until kids know you care about them. Point blank, period. And it's like, once that trust was involved, I mean, listen, the reason why I exited the classroom was because people around me were like, you're forming a target on your back. I didn't even plant this. This is me, okay? This was the last book that I taught my kids before I exited the classroom.
Wow. And now everyone's being told to go read it.
Right, mind you, I read this book with my kids in 2017. Okay.
Right.
This is a book that we read all year long. We dissected it. We learned about main idea. We learned about making inferences. We learned about grabbing key vocabulary text. We learned about understanding foreshadowing all through this book.
You
It
just
took
did
us
the
a
new
year
Jim
to get
Crow.
through it. My kids wrote research papers on it, and we even planned a field trip. You know, my kids did a boycott. They walked out. We did this the same year that the MST shooting happened. My
Wow.
kids were so ready and riled and fired up. Like,
Oh,
that is
wow.
how you
I
do
can
it.
imagine.
It's literally like, there were kids who in my class would roll their eyes and tell me, like, I don't understand why Black Lives Matter. Why are they doing that? Who are now texting me or sending me Instagram messages saying, Miss Leva, I just joined this protest, and sending me pictures. These are kids who are not for it. So it's like, whenever teachers say that to me, I'm like, you know why? You like being safe. You like being petted by the powers that be. You like not having a target on your back. That is literally why, as a teacher, I was always getting in trouble. Number one troublemaker. Every time I would walk into the room, people will roll their eyes. But it's like, hey, this is important. This is what kids need to know. This is my way of being an advocate and like turning the fire on the stove. And that's what I brought to TikTok too.
Yep.
Because it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna sit here and do a little dance for you. Not when like people are starving right now, when
Not
people
right
are
now.
incarcerated for what? When people are getting shot at.
No disrespect to the people that are dancing, because some of them are really hot and they're great and they have a lot of followers, but I don't dance. So
I mean,
It's just, that's not what I do. That's not me.
That's not what I do either.
So that's why when you asked me the question, I had a big old Grinch smile, because I'm like, you guys don't even know that about me, right? It's like, I have been a teacher advocate for my kids for years. The reason I left the classroom was because my head of school had a conversation with me, and he's like, I need you to realize that you are a revolutionary teacher in an evolutionary space.
Wow.
And I laughed.
Jesus.
I laughed and I said, do you know what evolution means, sir? You know? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, to me, it means a series of happy mistakes. And none of my kids are ever going to be a happy mistake. Everything that I do with my children is intentional. You know, and my kids were like writing op-eds in the school newspaper about the Black kids getting suspended. You know, like that's what my kids are doing. And it's like, I'm not telling them to do that. We are reading a book.
And they are acting out on it.
We're doing like, it's like, yo, so now when I see everyone's like, go buy the Jim Crow, it's like, bro, like this thing is old, tattered. I have like all my highlightings here. Like, that's so I can't even plant this. I'm just next to my book.
I can't believe that that's the one you pulled up, because that's the one that keeps getting shared now over and over and over again. And you were using that as a tool for years. So I do have a question. The teachers who are getting a pet on the head, what book do you think they would use instead to get the main idea?
None.
They would use the one that the district is asking them to use.
Which, like, what would be an example of that? I'm just curious, like, just to juxtaposition it.
Oh, girl, just literature in general. I don't know.
Like a generic, like, Of Mice and Men type deal.
Oh yes. First of all, let me not even start there.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Of Mice and Men is fine, but like Catcher in the Rye is like one of those books that's like every Catcher in the Rye and F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Mama, when I was in
The
school,
Great Gatsby,
I learned, and I'm 50. Okay.
But those books are the ones that English teachers are like, oh
my God,
you need it. And it's like, first of all, The Catcher in the Rye is about a private school kid who has money and his parents send him to boarding school and he doesn't feel loved.
Right.
I'm a freaking kid who grew up in poverty, who doesn't have anything to eat, reading this book and wanting to punch him in the face. You know, like,
it's annoying.
You know, and then there's like F. Scott Fitzgerald, who's like a charlatan, like freaking parading all this money around. And it's like, I'm sorry, kids reading that is not going to help them understand the racial tension that we're having in this country.
Well said.
I'm not going to prepare them to be a better person if that's what we're doing here. Or if we're reading, mind you, I love Edgar Allan Poe. He's one of my favorite white writers that exist. But it's like reading the Tall Tale Heart or The Mask of the Red Death is not going to make my kids better people in the long run. And let me not even get started on Shakespeare. and the Merchant of Venice. It's
Oh,
like,
the Merchant. I was gonna say she's gonna go for Shylock. She's
no,
gonna.
we're gonna go for the Merchant of Venice. Really, like anti-Semitism.
So
Oh,
anti-Semitism. Oh, Jew.
like, let's romanticize it because it's Shakespeare. I'm done.
But the thing is, they don't even. Most people don't even see that in the Merchant of Venice. It's not even taught.
Decolonize your textbooks too while we're at it.
Because the Merchant of Venice would be a good way to teach how it's done to show that. To be like, look how there's anti-Semitism. We don't do this anymore. Not to glorify it. I know. I'm done. Sorry.
No, but I think that's a really good point. You know, how do they do it in Germany, for example? Children are taken to concentration camps. It's part of their curriculum. They have to go. They have to understand what happened so that it never gets repeated again. So
that's what I did with my kids. I took them on a field trip to Alabama. We went to the Lynching Museum and the Legacy Museum, all coupled up. I mean, this was a year's worth of my effort.
I would give anything to find out in a few years where those kids end up.
For real.
Because all you need is one teacher, man. All you
I had a sorry.